Welcome to the very first episode of ESP Electric Scooter Podcast, starring your host, Dagwood.
That's me.
And featuring Kaylani.
Hi.
And Kira.
All right, that's enough. No scooter heads, you haven't lost your mind. Time has not reversed itself. That was the opening of the very first episode of the Electric Scooter Podcast. Why? Because this is the 100th episode. "100 episodes, 100 episodes, 100th episode Electric Scooter Podcast, 100 episodes. How did we get here? 100 episodes? Electric Scooter Podcast." There's actually more than 100 because we did these little in-between ones. But let's just call it 100. Podcast. Okay. Let's play a little gator here. Come on, Dagwood. You can play better than that. Well, that's a lame guitar solo. I gotta do better. Electric Scooter Podcast. I thought it might be an interesting experiment to go back in time and play some of the highlights from a few of my favorite episodes that I enjoyed. I hope you'll enjoy them too. So look at this as a compendium of the best, because what is the best electric scooter podcast on the planet? Well, there's only one. It's got to be right here where you are listening right now. I wanted it to be special, so I picked up the guitar and made this lame intro. I'd be better off probably just going with the theme song, so let's hit it. You heard me correctly. All right, I've said it too many times already. The 100th episode, I wanted it to be special, so I picked up the guitar, made that lame song, but there's nothing like the original, the theme song, which is also completely original, to the Electric Scooter Podcast. Originally created because I wanted to hear something about scooters, and I contacted the Electric Scooter Guide and said, "Hey, you guys review scooters. Why don't you make a podcast? It'd be simple enough. You could take episodes, extract the audio, and send them out." They said, "We don't want to do it. Why don't you do it?" It hadn't even crossed my mind. But here we are today, folks. I've had it under consideration for a while. What should I do for the Electric Scooter Podcast 100th episode anniversary? I thought, well, just crank out another episode of whatever. And then, if you haven't listened to the last two episodes, you should. Nimrod Sapir and Alone Gladstone from Inokim. Because if I do say so myself, a little bit epic. Check them out. So I thought, well, the bar's been set. I got to do something a little bit special. So I thought I would do a retrospective on, is that a word? On previous podcasts, some of the interesting interviews that I've had, and share them with you into one episode. So here it is, the 100th episode of the Electric Scooter Podcast with some of my favorite segments. My first guest ever on the Electric Scooter Podcast was from the great north, the frozen tundra of Canada, who went on to become quite a scooter star in his own right. Actually, he was before I ever talked to him. Who am I kidding? Tim West.
I don't speak Canadian, so I hear you say this. I'm taking the scooter out. I assume from context it means ride for a boot. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right.
It out for a boot.
Taking it out for a boot. Yeah, that's right. Just taking it out for a spin, I guess.
Is that like BOOT, like you wear on your feet, or is that...
Right, it's not about, it's a boot.
A boot, okay. Taking it out
for a boot.
Okay.
But now you've got me thinking about Dagwood. Maybe it is about ABOUT. Anyway, but yeah, no, I'm taking it out for a boot.
Taking it out for a boot.
Do I say that on camera too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
You do.
Adding to the scooter lexicon. Taking your scooter out for a ride is taking your scooter out for a boot. But that's not the only word or phrase initiated here on the Electric Scooter Podcast. Again, scooter lifestyle. You want tech details, go to Electric Scooter Guide, Alien Rides, RK9. Tim West has a good mixture of both. There's a lot of folks out there that are doing great, but we're Electric Scooter Lifestyle. We initiated the word scooter heads. That was kind of a collaboration. I had it down to 2 or 3 different ways to describe people who ride scooters. It came down to scooterhead. I don't remember the other 2, but Tina, who was at the time working for Electric Scooter Guide and now works for Voro Motors, sent me an email saying it's got to be scooter heads, because in England they have petrol heads for cars, so motor heads in the United States, so why not scooter heads? So scooter heads it is. Scooter heads! Going out for a boot was not Tim's only contribution to the scooter lexicon. Check out what he says during this part of the interview. I love this. This is one of my favorite scooter phrases.
Especially with something like as powerful as a Wolf Warrior, right? I mean, you've got an awful lot of torque there. And if you can just temper that torque, then it's going to make it so much easier on your body when you're just, you coming out, maybe you're doing 20 miles an hour and you decide, I'm just going to go up to like 25. But if you put your foot down, as it were, you give it the beans, 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 give it the beans.
All my life been eating beans, nothing deep, no hidden meaning. I like them with tortillas, I like them with rice. I even eat them with greens.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I like beans. I do.
I like beans.
Love beans.
I like beans.
Yeah, we heard you.
I like beans.
He likes beans.
I like beans. I like beans. I like
Bing,
beans.
bing, 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 beans. Yeah, scooter heads. Use them in your vocabulary. If you're going out for a ride, say you're going out for a boot. When you get on the accelerator, you're giving it the beans. And of course, when you talk about other folks who ride scooters, they're scooter heads. All right, so where can we hear more about Tim West? Let's let him tell us.
If you people are watching me on YouTube, then it's just youtube.com/Tim's Electric.
Tim West is a bona fide scooter star, and there are others, but there's one godfather of electric scooting. In my opinion, nobody has done more to promote electric scooting in our society or had more widespread impact than, that's right, Chuck Temple. We were so lucky to get him for an interview, and being that this podcast is about the lifestyle, we asked Chuck how he got into scooting. And what a great story it is. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, scooter heads, Chuck Temple.
You will not hear a single episode of the Electric Scooter Podcast where we do not mention the Electric Scooter Guide. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, about your team, maybe the breakdown of responsibilities? I don't understand how you can accomplish so much with so few people. I understand they're talented, they're good people, but it just seems like a lot.
It's overwhelming for us too sometimes, so it's probably mutual. So the way I guess this whole thing kind of came about was I bought an electric scooter, and I moved to San Francisco with my girlfriend at the time, and she's now my wife. That's Vienna, and so we moved to the city, and I never lived in a city before, and I was deathly afraid of basically not. Like one of the worst, it sounds terrible, sounds, I don't know, guys, silly, but I'm a pretty chill person, but the one thing that really riles me up is when I'm driving somewhere and there's just no parking and I don't know that there's gonna be parking. And so in San Francisco, 2016, 2017, traffic is horrendous. It took forever to get to downtown, and she worked downtown and I was kind of working everywhere. And I was gonna get an e-bike. And then she said, well, I'm thinking about getting an electric scooter. So then I was like, an electric scooter, what's that? I didn't really understand it. So I researched it, I thought about it, and I thought about every situation that I was going to encounter in like in a week, in 2 weeks, whatever. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, gosh, electric scooter just really makes sense for the city. So I bought this electric scooter off of Amazon. It turns out it was the U-Scooter Booster Plus, I think at the time. I bought it late 2016, got it, early 2017, rode it, and basically fell in love with just it and scooting, and I literally just could not stop talking about it to everyone, all my friends. I took it everywhere. To every restaurant, to movie theaters, to dentist appointments, to friends' houses up the hills in Potrero, 22% grade. I took it everywhere. And
you're looking for excuses to ride.
Oh my gosh.
We're out of swizzle sticks, honey.
Oh, I would, yeah, no, I literally, there was a Gus's that was 3 blocks away, 3 long blocks, take you 10 minutes to walk back and forth. I would love to go, just to go do an errand, because I know I'd be back in like, I could just fly there, and it was amazing. And so, I was still working at a juice company in San Francisco at the time. By 2000, I guess late 2018, I was kind of like, I quit there and I was looking for my next thing to do. And I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had been one in a previous kind of lifetime, when, like in the 2000 era. And so, at that same time, my buddy Justin, who is the co-founder of the Electric Scooter Guide, he was a postdoc at Stanford as a biomedical engineer. We had met at UC Davis. He was taking entrepreneurship classes while I was getting an MBA. So he was this postdoc. He got this real prestigious post at Stanford, but then called me and was like, Chuck, like, I can't change the world doing this kind of like research or whatever, work that he was doing. It's just not quick enough. Like, I don't feel like I'm making an impact. And I was like, interesting, because I'm kind of on my way out at this juice company. Let's do something together. And we had met at UC Davis. We entered a business competition. Justin had invented a form of, we invented a lot of things, including a form of nuclear imaging that hadn't been, that was his, I guess, like, the doctoral thesis and dissertation.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Justin sounds like a guy who's read a lot of books, done some studying.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's a full on, high level PhD. And so we met at UC Davis. I was in business school. He was at the postdoc. We ended up. He invented a form of female birth control that's non-invasive. Actually, we entered a business competition at UC Davis and won first place.
That's a
for that. And
coincidence.
so we
I also invented a form of birth control. Yeah, it's called a sweater vest for men. Women won't come near you. It's an effective form of birth control.
That's for. There you go. That's all you need. So anyway, so we had met through that, and then he went to the postdoc world. We reconnected, I think late 2018, decided we want to do something together. At the same time, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to do something that I really want to do. And during that time, I realized that someone messaged me from Reddit saying, hey, can I be a mod on your Reddit group? And I was like, what Reddit group? And he was like, oh, the electric scooter guide or the electric scooter Reddit group. And I was like, oh yeah, I had started this Reddit group when I got my scooter because, I didn't have enough people to talk to about in San Francisco. I had to obviously make community groups because I couldn't stop talking about my scooter. I forgot about the Reddit, the subreddit. He was like, I want to mod. There's a few hundred people on here. And so that was kind of the start. I started managing that community. We asked that community what they needed. What does the electric scooter market, need? Because I was like, gosh, if I could do something in life, I would. I want to do something that I'm passionate about, and getting, not that I don't like cars, but I just think cars are not the best way for everything anymore. And so I was like, gosh, if I could promote, more personal electric vehicle type stuff, and electric scooters to me are the harbinger of this whole kind of movement. That's what I'd be doing. So I started managing that community group. I pinned a post saying, what do you guys need? What do you want? What's missing in this industry? And the Reddit group told me, they said, we need a way to organize the information and to be able to understand what are the specs on these scooters, and how does this work? What are all the manufacturers? Because it was just this big chaos. I mean, it is still somewhat chaotic, right? You don't understand who's making what and what the real speed is and who's selling what when and if this is legit or
Well, other than ESG, there's really nobody out there. There's no resource to find the information. They come from China. Everybody buys different parts sourced from different people. They throw them together with different paint schemes, and you don't know if it's going to have a thumb throttle or a QSS4 throttle. It's just craziness.
Yes. So basically, they said they needed something, and so that is how the database on our website, which was the very first thing that we made, was a solution to what this community said that they absolutely needed. And that's how the electric scooter guide website, which was all it was at the time, that's how it got started. It was based upon the people on Reddit saying we need this product, and we made this database as sortable and filterable, and you can just basically go on there and put in your criteria. Hey, I want to go 20 miles. I want 30 miles per hour top speed. I need it to be under 50 pounds. You can just basically type that stuff in just like a spreadsheet with filters. And that's it. And that's how this whole thing got started.
Scooter How crazy is that? The actual story from Chuck Temple telling you how the electric scooter guide got started. Did you catch my little joke about birth control? Justin said he invented something for women. I myself invented a type of birth control. It was called the sweater vest. Because I was thinking a life vest that protects you when you go overboard in the water at sea. You have bulletproof vests that protect you against bullets. But what do you do if you need to be protected from pretty girls? And that's the sweater vest. I'm not saying that I am so handsome that I need protection, but I do have a certain je ne sais quoi. That's French for body odor, right? You might think that we're finished with the electric scooter guide, but we're not finished with ESG because we were fortunate enough to score an interview with the Paul Somerville. And I'm telling you, this guy, I love this guy. I'm not kidding. He's so professional. He's got such a great voice, and what a background in scooting that he has. They call him the hardware program manager, but trust me, he is much, much more than that. Fixing things around the office. I don't know all the inner workings of the electric scooter guide, but I'm telling you, he's the man. he was the guy who was in charge of repair operations. I guess you'd call that a technical officer for Lime and Skip in San Francisco. Those are rental or shared scooter companies. Pretty massive, to be honest. He had a big job. I know that he was into motorcycle road racing from talking to him. He's a mechanic. But what I like about him, one of the things I like about him, we met in person at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Happens once a year, coming up again here in January. I just stuck a microphone in front of him, and he was PFM. It was magic. He came out just so professional. I asked him to do a little spot for the Electric Scooter podcast. Maybe we'll play that a little bit later. Maybe I won't. Who knows? Anyway, here are a couple excerpts from the Paul Somerville of the Electric Scooter Guide interview.
We got Paul. We got Paul, y'all. We got Paul from ESG. We got Paul. We got Paul, y'all. We got Paul from ESG. ESG.
I know you're a wrench, and you worked for Lime and other big scooter companies, and now you're with the Electric Scooter Guide. Which scooter have you come across that is the easiest tire change?
Oh, that's easy. Either actually both the Inokim Ox and Oxo, and the reason is you don't need to take the wheel off. It's amazing. The single-sided swing arms. I made a little video clip. Actually, I don't know if we ever published that video clip. I think we used this. It was in part of the live show where we show swapping it out, and I think it was 10 minutes start to finish, and that was with some explanation. And it was also the first time I'd ever done it.
Yeah, that was the live show on the deep dive or whatever on Inokim Ox. So it showed you in there changing the tire. Yeah.
And in fact, I'm just getting ready to do a tire change on an Apollo Ghost right now because we got a pinch flat on ours, and they were kind enough to send us some tubes. Thank you, Apollo, for that. And so we'll see. I haven't done it yet, but we'll see how that process goes.
Yeah, the Inokim. That's why it reminds me of a Ducati.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Ducati of scooters.
And it's so interesting. I mean, we called it an exotic scooter, and it's like it's just it's unique enough to make it really interesting because like everything else, not everything else, but so many other scooters you see so many parts that are common to each other, and that one it's just like the single-sided swing arms. I mean, I think I've seen them one or two other places, but they're just everything on is such a signature. It's just such a unique scooter. All of their scooters are so unique and so beautiful.
Are there tubes in that tire, or is it
yes? Yeah, that is that was a tubed tire on that one. Yeah.
Now you would definitely prefer tubeless if you had your choice, right?
Yeah.
I always recommend tubeless pneumatic tires.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things about the tubeless tires is you're never going to get a pinch flat, and that's a big proportion. There's a lot of the flats that people get are you ride off. You get a little underinflated, which is easy to do. You get a ton of surface area, not a lot of volume. It's not like a car where you can go 6 months without checking your tires. A scooter, within a couple weeks you can be really low and not know it, and then you go over a curb and boom, you pinch your tube in between the rim and the tire or the ground, and it cuts to little snake bites in your tube, and now you get a flat tire that's actually pretty hard to fix with slime, partly because the cuts can be down at the rim side and not at the outside where all the slime spins to.
I talked to Chuck about slime, and a mechanic, just a random mechanic guy, I don't know if he does a lot with scooters or whatever, but he was concerned that by putting slime in there, it could coagulate not evenly. Maybe if you didn't take it for a ride immediately afterwards, maybe you could explain a little bit about that, and you might end up with a little imbalance, like whoppity, and it's maybe more noticeable at high speed. I don't know.
The funny thing is they actually say the opposite. They say that it helps balance your tires. And now it is important to spin it right away. That's something I think they don't emphasize enough in the instructions, that you really need to. The best way that I've found to do is I put it up on a box, and especially on cruisers that have, scooters that have cruise control. You just initiate cruise control, set a timer, come back in 20 minutes, and it's going to have done its thing.
And it works for both tubeless and tubed tires?
I think it works better on tubeless, but possibly one of the reasons for that, in fact, probably the reason for that, is that tubeless, you're only going to get punctures on the sort of the riding surface of the tire, and that's where the slime goes when you spin it. With the tubed tires, when you get those punctures, they tend to be kind of like a snake bite, and they're going to be on the sides where the rim cut it, and it's going to be more likely even on the bottom of the sides, like right up against the rim. And when you spin it, the slime's not going there. And so I had one recently where I slimed it and it didn't work, and I actually put the scooter on its side and ran it for 20 minutes on completely laid on its side with the back rear wheel running, and then completely on the right side, and that helped. And that's actually the one I'm getting ready to take apart. I'm going to cut that tube open and see, where did the slime get to, where did it not get to. But back to the balancing. I've done a little bit of wheel balancing. That's a subject that is kind of interesting. As the scooters get faster, it becomes
of course you have, Paul.
It becomes a more important thing. The faster you go. And when I tried it, when I slimed this one scooter, I checked it to see. None of these scooters are perfectly balanced. The tires are not perfectly balanced as they arrive. And I put a bunch of slime in there, I spun it, and it didn't feel like it balanced itself any better than it was before. Whereas the Harley guys, the rental companies for Eagle Rider and the Harley rental companies, they will pre-slime. They've been doing this for like a decade, at least a decade. They would pre-slime all their tires before they would go out for rental.
Pre-slime.
Yeah, so before they have a problem, they would just, like when they were brand new, they would fill them up with slime and set them off, and they like to do that because they felt it would help balance the wheels.
Wow.
And then if somebody did pick up a puncture, it would just not turn into a problem. And so they were just doing this for a long time. And maybe with the volume, the volume of slime that you put in a bigger tire, maybe that's enough weight. But I think the problem is you're offsetting this. A lot of the time when you're balancing a tire, you're offsetting the extra weight of the valve stem, Yeah, a lot of the time. So when you have when you buy a new motorcycle tire, there'll be a dot on it, and that's the light spot, and you put that. Oh gosh, I don't want to get this backwards and mess everybody up. But if I'm remembering correctly, you put it opposite of the valve stem, and that's
that makes sense.
Yeah, anyway, nobody copied me on this. Double check my facts here before anybody mounts a tire. But there is a light spot, and they mark the light spot, and then you have to orient it correctly relative to the stem. And but I just don't think there's enough mass for the amount of slime that we get into these scooter tires to, if there is a balancing effect, it was not apparent. It didn't. I saw no improvement. But I also don't think that you'll get a big lump. If you live somewhere really, really cold, and your scooter sat for a long time, it could actually get kind of thick and on the bottom, and then take a little while to smooth out after you get rolling.
That's what I was thinking. It would just, if you let it sit still for a long time, and it was. Yeah, that it might start sliding down on the inside. I don't know how well it bonds to the tire.
But it's not going to dry out really, because there's just not there's not that much air inside the tube, and so it's not going to. It really doesn't dry up until it comes out and meets the outside air. It needs a lot of air to dry up, and so it will stay liquid pretty much forever in there. But I think in really cold weather, it might be a little bit of a wump until it warms up. But I think it warms up pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so much to unpack there. The witty, intelligent, golden-voiced Paul Somerville. Go back and listen to that a couple times if you need to. That's what I say about the Electric Scooter Podcast. Yes, it's about lifestyle. However, we infuse it now and then with technical things that you need to know as a scooter head. And if you're involved in the business, You're manufacturing scooters, you're selling scooters, you're repairing scooters. If you're not listening to the Electric Scooter podcast, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life if you're involved with scooters and you're not listening to the Electric Scooter podcast? We've had so many great interviews over the last couple years. Can you believe it's been 2 years? We had Carl McClarty from McClarty Films. We had Gene, the engineer. Ginger on Wheels? How could I not put Ginger on Wheels into this episode? Isa B, reggae singer, Scooterhead from Hawaii. We had Cody, who was scooting in Barcelona, Spain. Francisco in Ecuador. Scott Carbone, Tampa, Florida. Andy, who we interviewed at the CES. There's just too many. I can't name them all. Just great interviews. How about Dan O'Man? Zero to Epic? How can I leave that out of this podcast? Jesse of Pevra. Fat Scooters? Wow, really a lot of great interviews. I'd like to close with somebody I was very honored to interview. World-renowned engineer and designer of Inokim scooters, who Paul talked about earlier. We talked about tires, and I think the other really most controversial component of the electric scooter besides the battery, and I thought about putting that in when Gene talked about sine wave controllers, would be the thumb throttle. You did not hear that in the last 2 podcasts because I didn't put it in. I was saving it. So we're going to close with Nimrod Sapir, designer, inventor, hang glider, and innovator of Inokim scooters, talking about thumb throttles, because I basically asked him, what's the deal?
There is a history with the thumb throttle, okay? First of all, it's very simple. It comes from the electric bicycle industry. So they use the sound throttle, and that is what was available in the market in the first place when I have collected parts from different suppliers. So it came from there. Apparently, there were other throttles coming up, but I definitely related to the thumb throttle again because of the experience. The reason we didn't do a twisting throttle, when the scooter is parking and it is on, and you by mistake you usually keep your hand on the bar. Many times when you're stopped, you for a break, or you meet someone, or you stop when you're getting to your shop or store or whatever, you put your one foot down, or go totally down from the scooter, and one hand is touching the bar, and then it's very easy to have a mistake and twist and move your arm, and then what happens is that the scooter, which is very light and has a strong motor, will throw itself forward, and it's dangerous, and that happens. So that is the reason why there is the twisting handle throttle from the bicycles, from the motorbikes, is not there. We have a few options, like one is push to start, and the other one is double push, or use the brake in order to start it. A lot of people do not like the push to start, but I tell you what, you know the throttle we have on the Ox, right?
Yes, I
it has
that model.
Right. So it has the shape of almost the throttle is not only a thumb throttle. There is a few centimeters of plastic which goes into the grip, which you can almost use as a twist throttle, which you can use your 2 fingers, like your thumb and the finger close to the thumb, in order to roll it. So it's like a mixture between the thumb throttle and the twist throttle, and what it gives you is a better precision of your energy input. If you'll be riding the aux, try to use this plastic part which goes on the right side of the throttle. Just hold it with your two fingers. Hold your two fingers around it and twist your arm, and you'll see how convenient. It's really convenient to use.
There we go, ending the 100th episode of the Electric Scooter Podcast with Nimrod Sapir. To all the previous guests I've ever had, thank you so much. I don't know what the future holds for the Electric Scooter Podcast, but Scooterheads, thank you for listening. Keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down. Wear a helmet. Protect your melon. Aloha.